But in a situation where you find that a look at this,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that.
All right, thank you for staying. Time for us to take a look at the dailies on Daybreak. Now, we begin with the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. The lead story, governorship race, uncertainty over fate of PDP APC candidates in 4 states. You also have the riders that says PDP has no candidate in Zamfara. Court, Binani, Buacha, Adebutu fight to reclaim tickets. INEC must stand by rules of the game, dons say. And then you'd find also the pictorial there showing you the timeline, notifications of governorship party primaries by court in 2022. You have Alhaji Dauda Lawal Dare. You also have Senator Emmanuel Buacha, Ladia Debutu, Aisha Tahiru Binani of Adamawa, and Alhaji Dauda Lawal Dare. So these are some of the court cases you would find there, a graphic explanation. And then beside that, bandits abduct 20 children in Niger State, demand 40 million naira. This is coming a few days after about 39 children, 40 or thereabout, were abducted in Zamfara State and have since been released. ASU rejects half salaries, Mo's legal action on page 6. Hush Puppy backs 11 years, 3-month jail in US. That's on page 4. And then above the lead story, marketers push for 200 naira per litre as petrol sells above 180 in Abuja. Court convicts EFCC chairman for contempt. Bawa appeals ruling on page 6. PDP moves to reconcile Atiku, Bala Mohammed. So these are the stories on the front page of Daily Trust, not forgetting that we still have 11 schoolgirls of FGC Birni Awuri in captivity 510 days after. 1 student of Bethel Baptist High School, Kujama, 483 days after.
All right, let's now look at this day newspaper. This day newspaper has a lead story that said this is coming from one of the presidential candidates, Kwankwaso. I'm not desperate to be president. And the first writer says APC has proven to be worse than the PDP. Insists all is not well in Northeast, where government claims it has defeated insurgency. And below the pictorial on the paper, we have court awards 200 million naira damages in favor of Benedict Peters against EFCC, Malami, 5 others. Just above the lead story, UK no longer against travel to FCT, insist risk remains. PDP, this is coming from the PDP, Atiku would never shy away from engaging Nigerians. And just above the masthead, Innamani to Igbo, reflect on reality of Tinubu's presidency. We also have a story here. NLNG insists gas production not impacted by floods. And it has a rider, declares federal government's fight against crude oil theft has improved oil gas supply. These are the major stories on the This Day newspaper.
All right, on the Guardian newspaper this morning, the lead story says, diesel gas prices compound FX woes, inflation outlook. You'll also find court commits EFCC chairman to prison, directs IGP to execute order. ASU forecloses fresh strike, decries half pay. 90% of leaders shy from observing corporate governance, says IOD. You have new Naira notes, good policy, bad timing. You also have insecurity. Nigerians worried over threat to 2023 polls despite assurances. PDP denies resignation of PCC chair as aide tips Atiku to win despite rift. So these are the stories on the front page of The Guardian.
Over now to the Punch newspaper. It has a lead story that says 2023 polls Subject presidential candidates, others to psychiatric test. This is coming from the NMA. It has a first rider that says, those with untreatable mental neurological problems should not lead. Medical body offers to set up panel of renowned specialists to do screening. And we also have the pictorial is that of core members. And then beneath that, we have a caption that says, NYC asks members to promote unity, nation building. Just beneath that, Chidima, foster father lied about Ataga's death. This is coming from the police. Hush Puppy jailed 11 years despite wife imam's pleas. Celestial Church members mob punchman, police probe attack. Just by the masthead, we have awarding Qatar World Cup a mistake. This is coming from Blatter. And above that, COP27, federal government eyes $400 billion for energy transition plan. ASU awaits court ruling on half pay. Still on the Punch, Nigeria 16 others to fight money laundering, terrorism. These are the major stories on the Punch newspaper for today.
All right. On the Leadership newspaper, you have the lead story talking about Bauchi governor accuses Atiku of unfair treatment. You'd also find above that half pay. ASU ends meeting, says no more strike. Another petrol pump price hike imminent, marketers say. You also have 17 die, 18 others injured in Kano accident on Isha blast. 2023 presidential race is a two-horse race, says Tinubu's camp. You would also find free education policy. El-Rufai orders refund of school fees to pupils. PMB hails FBN for 40 years of cross-border banking in UK. EFCC appeals court order committing chairman to prison. These are the stories on the front page of the Leadership.
And the Nation newspaper leads with a political story. Wike, others take anti-Atiku battle to Bauchi governor. The writer says G5 governors to meet Bala Mohammed today. Atiku hosts governor in Abuja. And just beneath that, marketers seek upward review of petrol pump price. We also have new Naira notes. Banks get 52 billion Naira cash deposits in 2 weeks. UK government okays £95 million for 4 million Nigerians. Still on the Nation newspaper, 2023 elections. What are the big four offering? We also have the story here. $2 billion required to complete Ajaokuta, says minister. Also rejects payment of half salary to members. That is about it on the Nation newspaper for today.
All right, so let's get perspectives on these stories. We have Ben Sherman, the Director of News Voice of Nigeria, in the studio to give us perspectives on some of the stories. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on Daybreak this morning.
My pleasure once again. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, quite a number of stories. Let's begin with political stories. It looks like another name has been added to the list of governors who are not happy with the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar. We have seen the story about the Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed, who is feeling unfairly treated in the last outing of the PDP in Kaduna. So what do you make of this coming at this time?
It will take a mastery of the art of reconciliation for PDP to emerge out of this crisis. And if you check now, having Wike, Otum, and others storming Bauchi to still woo Governor Bala Mohammed, join this camp. And from the way Bala Mohammed is professing what is within him, Atiku is treating us unfairly. That again gives you a message that all is not well. Even when at the point some people are saying, oh, we're trying to reconcile Atiku and Bala Mohammed. Also, it's not too okay for the PDP. Even at that, APC too is not as if they are on a rosy kind of a bed, because there are still issues that are outstanding. I mean, there are leftover items that are supposed to be handled. And we're doing all of this when the time is running out. You look at the campaigns that are going on, instead of them to be issue-based, we're still talking of personalities. Come for debate, and of course, I won't come, I won't do this, I won't. Nigerians are gauging you by your utterances, so to speak. So if you underrate them, one day you won't, look at what is happening in U.S. elections. So far, the Republicans, they are not in government, but you could see for now they are reaching somewhere. You look at Malawi, I mean, the sitting government was a kind of defeated by someone in opposition. Look at what happened in Kenya. So all is not well if you just believe, oh, my past records will bring me. Nigerians have a gauge. They can always weigh you to see.
But what is it with some of the loyalists of the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar that seem to be offsetting some of these governors? The Bauchi State governor is alleging that there are some of the loyalists of Atiku Abubakar in Bauchi who doesn't want his re-election as governor.
Yeah, you see, the whole thing has to do with all this zoning kind of a thing, when some people feel they've been skimmed out. Remember, Bala Mohammed has changed cabinet how many times? And when you feel you suspect so is no longer with you, sometimes you drop them. And if you check the IUCAM versus Atiku, then Wike versus others, it's still about this same zoning. If you say that the presidential candidate is in the north, so the chairmanship should go to the south, people argue, is it the time that you scatter all of that, bearing in mind that is a constitutional issue? Will Atiku just wake up and say, oh yeah, I so agree? If he agrees, it means you have to tinker with your constitution, you have to go to maybe some convention. Do you really have the time for all of this? Maybe after elections, if they win, or they don't win, they can still go back to the drawing board. Maybe that could be a way out. But so far, everybody is sticking to his guns, and I think there might be, like the greedy fly who follows the corpse to the graveyard, and of course they bury it together.
All right, as of today, we have the G5 governors who are not with Atiku. If the reconciliation moves between the PDP and Bala Mohammed does not go well, it will become G6. I read in one paper that the Wike group is shopping for more governors. Now my question is, all of those governors, if at the end there's no reconciliation, do you see them just sitting back and just working for their states, or they are going to throw their weight behind any other presidential candidates?
You see, when you see the body language of Otum, you say, if I were not to be in PDP, I'll be voting for Peter Obi. It says something. There's no smoke without fire, you know. But again, they all have to be careful. Their political careers are always at stake. If you say, okay, I will just simply work for the governor in my state, at the presidential level, it doesn't matter who wins. The next region, you contested to be president. Maybe if you're coming back, there could be payback time. Some people will pay you, if not the same side of the coin or size of the coin, there will be more.
But do you think all of them would throw their weight in block behind anyone, or each person will now decide which presidential candidate I want to support?
The way they dine together, the way they move together, the way I see them dancing swagger dance, twisting here and there. The twist tells you they might be going towards a direction. But where is that direction? Now, look at Kwankwaso also saying, look, this thing is not a do or die affair. I must not be president by all means. You know, there are messages. Some people are reading between the lines, but the ignorance are simply still reading on the line. Whereas the key players are already seeing some signals that some of us are not seeing. And that's why you see all these statements coming here.
Do you foresee a situation where these governors may come to some kind of deal with the opposition in their various states to say, hey, let's work towards getting your presidential candidates into office. For the governorship seat, you just leave that to me, you know, and then perhaps that will favor them.
Yes, I see it coming, but my worry is when you talk of party supremacy, why is it that if you have these rebels in all these political parties, why is it that the party structure, the party administration, the head, why are they not sanctioning some people? Are they above?
What are their options, really?
I mean, if you have can't you suspend?
Wouldn't that break the camel's back? I mean, as it is right now, it's not like these governors
But if it's going to bring sanity,
we are no longer.
If it's going to bring sanity, when indeed within the system, some people that are supposed to work for you are instead of marketing you, they are demarketing you.
And in the case of PDP, which leadership is going to sanction them when they're actually asking for the chairman to go?
Well, they are asking for chairman. They are not asking for somebody that does not exist.
And then perhaps maybe there's a fear of litigation. I mean, who knows?
Well,
maybe that could land the party into.
But honestly, it's a thing that they all have to sit down if indeed they must win. You cannot be going to a battlefield and the commanders are giving commands, the troops are refusing to obey, sub-commanders are taking that route, you're going that way, see obstacles ahead, you are not bothered. At the point you stop and fight yourselves, the enemies are watching and of course studying. Your mistakes are a very big university for others to study and see your loopholes. This is how we're going to overcome them to our own advantage.
All right, let's take a look at this other story on the front page of the Daily Trust. Hush Puppy bags 11 years, 3-month jail in U.S. This is someone who became a poster boy for a lot of youths in Nigeria, especially on social media, because he was living very extravagantly. And you could see, if you followed his page and the kind of comments a lot of youths wanted to be like him. Do you think that this will serve as a deterrent to people who want to engage in fraud, especially among the youths?
Yeah. When you listen to the preacher, they tell you, not all that glitters is gold. It's not, look, when suddenly you've never known somebody, from Adam, suddenly, the waves are all around him, all about him. And when he moves with a crowd, a kind of, in the social media, see how many people are following him. And that's why ab initio, we expected that the security agencies should be able to comb some of these things. But I'm worried at the point, especially our youth who indeed, I've seen that one secondary school here in Abuja that has developed a kind of an app to purify water and some other things. Now, when you see these children with laptops, you begin to call them Yahoo boys. I think we're going to cripple their initiative. But what I'm still saying is that whenever you just wake up and see somebody with flamboyant kind of life, this kind of I don't care attitude, you flaunt cars so costly, you live in some opulence that are questionable. I think that this is where EFCC should go in quickly. And it's belittling. You see that security agencies, like we had the IG Special Squad that was supposed to have monitored this guy, you now go hypnoting with him, snapping, posing, and also sharing in your own Facebook account and all that stuff. When you notice a criminal, except otherwise you're doing all of that in order to know him and of course catch him, get their network, and of course do something. Outside that, if you just believe you are associating with someone who has made it in life, I think it's just wrong. Let there be a means that someone is living on. Let us see how he's working to make that money. Not that you just wake up. You can't account for this.
What does that even say about the pattern of consumption of social media content? These days, and how that is also shaping the thought, the thinking of the average youth in Nigeria, and whether or not there's something that can be done, maybe by government, to see how can we, put a check on the kind of luxurious or affluence that we see on social media that may not be necessarily representing the reality.
You see, sometimes there has to be conscience. When you exhibit publicly this kind of wealth, when you know it is questionable, it shouldn't just be. Why don't even you go into some investment? Create an industry.
Conscience on whose part? The person?
I mean, when they
The person is already a criminal.
But how did he start? At the point, see, Stella, when you are writing something and you know that this spelling of accommodation, is it Sean T-I-O-N or S-I-O-N? See, something will tell you you are wrong somewhere. You underline it and check later. At that point, when you are about conceiving a crime. Actors, these lawyers, when you perceive and you plan and you move and execute, by the time you are planning, you are conceiving this idea, it's a criminal act.
All right.
And of course, why do people obey the laws?
All right.
Because they fear they will be punished, because there are some people they respect, they don't want to disgrace them because of their parents, because of their children.
Right.
They wouldn't want to go into all of that.
All right, so talking about obedience to the law, the EFCC chair is being charged with contempt of court. The court is asking to convict him at the Kuje prison for contempt. An order was issued some time back, expecting that they will see to the enforcement of the law, but that didn't happen, and so the judge is issuing that order. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I think that just like we just left this issue, it all started with an Air Force officer who was suspected of receiving a gift of a car, something like that. And of course, on suspicion, the car or something was taken from him. The guy went to court, said, "Give me my car," and the court so ruled, "Give him." So after years, nothing has been given to the man. He returned to the court crying, "You ruled," and there was no ground of appeal. So if time of appeal has passed, it's taken that it's like less. How do they call it? You are no longer interested in prosecuting it, Therefore, the judge felt angered. Laws are supposed to be obeyed. And if you check the Chief Justice of Nigeria, just this week or just at the tail end of last week, just said, "Fear no man, deliver justice. Let the judiciary still be the hope of the common man." So if this vehicle is being retained for this long against the law, of course, he has to be committed to some prison terms. And that's what they've done. And I'm told that he's gone on an appeal. And so why did you wait till this level? And if, again, the law will look at, I'm not saying the judge, the law will say, it's
right.
not a respecter of persons.
So we understand that the judge has also asked the IGP to ensure that the EFCC chair has been arrested and also to be sent to Kuje prison. But we also now understand that the IG, according to reports, is not even aware of this. Perhaps he has not been informed officially or formally about this. And so between those who are meant to implement the laws and those who interpret the laws, do you think that there's a disconnect from what we've been seeing over the years?
Yeah, you see, when a judgment has been passed, you hear some people, court saying, well, when we get the facts as ruled, the minutes, the judgment itself, if taken to us, we study and implement. But if, therefore, something has been done, the judge has said this, and of course, the word of mouth runs faster. And the IG will hear this, will say, well, I've not seen it officially. I've not received it, no communication, so to speak. But that does not annul it. And if they really want to do it, if IG, you feel, okay, the chairman is circulated by policemen, IG has the power to withdraw his policemen. And they make you, even though EFCC itself, they have trained their own arm in terms of arms control and handling because of issues of this nature. But it shouldn't reach a situation where we have fine officers engage in a street duet to show who is indeed has a greater power. No.
All right. There's this story on the City and Crime page of the Daily Trust that I'd like you to speak to. It says, man poisons daughter over love affair. Okay, so the story says the man had warned the daughter earlier to stay away from a particular guy because the girl was supposed to be preparing to go to higher institution, right? But because she did not heed to his warning, he put sniper in her tea. Was that not a bit drastic?
Look, it is the very low level of being a friend of Satan. I mean, it is the greatest level of, if you say man's inhumanity to fellow man, look, that's putting it mild. I think that he deserves an arrest, trial, real prosecution, and of course he should be cooling in the correctional centers here and there. It's unheard of. Your daughter, not just your daughter, I mean, it could be anybody's child, any person, any human being. Why do you poison? So what's the benefit now? The next thing is you say, oh, I was pushed by Satan. I saw a cartoon where Satan was advising God to start advising his children. When they commit, they'll start blaming me. You did that crime, I was not there. Satan was complaining. So at a point, truly, the way things are being done, children are stolen. They said some sacrifices to make money. Okay, I'll kill this daughter to ensure this guy loses her. So what have you gained? And if you go by the holy books, you'll be punished here in Nigeria, and when you die, of course, the story is hell. Too many bad things for him.
Quite a sad one, really. But again, we cannot end this session without talking about the issue of the fuel scarcity and the likelihood of an increase of the price, the official price, to over 200 naira per liter. We are seeing that the marketers are pushing for that. What do you make of this?
Well, they've blamed rather everything. The next thing now they'll say there's a redesign of the currency. That's why we have this scarcity. That's putting it mildly. But I think that Nigerians have suffered so much, and I've seen that some politicians, some presidential candidates are saying, I mean, with boldness, vote me in, we'll remove subsidy, use this money to develop this country. Maybe it's going to look like if we were to have, you know, those days when you have Petroleum Trust Fund during the Abacha days, you pick your budget, let's say 5 million naira. Suddenly you realize extra 1 million. That extra 1 million was the creation of PTF, and they gave General Buhari to administer. Today, if you go to some campuses, you still see PTF projects there and here and there. If it's going to ensure that some projects are to come on board, I have no problem with that. Just like we're talking of.
But
just
Mr. Chairman, the problem is that right now there's subsidy. So why is the price just, you know, not too long ago it was adjusted, and now they're in the process of another adjustment. There's a subsidy in place at the moment.
Yes, and so where is that money going to? That's the question.
Honestly, that's always the question. Fetching water in a basket, or fetching water and throwing it inside a well. I mean, it's like that's exactly what we are doing. But I think there has to be a lasting solution to this. The other time I was reading, they said the refineries will soon come on board, and when Dangote comes on board, it's also going to augment what the federal government is doing. Well, we hope so. And we were told that because of oil theft, crude and refined, I mean, everything went down. But I've seen in one of the papers where they're saying that the drastic action taken in the last 1 month has a kind of brought some sanity in the pipelines, in security, in stealing and all that. And you could see some neighboring countries where the coastline, they've arrested some ship with Nigerian crude, and they want to bring them back to Nigeria. That is just how it's supposed to be, so that seafarers too will ensure that we have a better business.
All right, let's quickly also talk about this. On the Nation newspaper, there's a story there. New Naira notes, banks get 52 billion cash deposit in 2 weeks. That means there's a lot of money out there, right?
That also means, I don't want some people to crucify me, but I love the redesigning of this Naira note. Where some people brought in some notes, I mean, heaps of money, and you could see the wraps right from 2002 and 3. I mean, they've never used those money, 200 Naira notes. Do you realize 200 Naira notes are so scarce in Nigeria? They are. Same thing with 100 Naira. They are scarce. Now, that has been wrapped, now taken to the bank, you know. And those kidnapping, like they said, security too, those kidnapping in terms of ransom, those who have received and taken money, they are in the bushes. Of course, now let's see who brings what amount. Or you return them there, then maybe that your community use the old currency. But I think that it's good time that in terms of excess liquidity mopping, as the finance people will say, when there's too much money in circulation, of course you realize that there will be a kind of inflation. So we expect that as money is being returned, of course, the CBN will take charge, because they declared how many trillions wanted. They printed this. Now, the commercial banks can only account for this figure. What about the rest?
But I'm thinking that people in some rural areas that have been displaced by bandits, and they don't have banks. People in those areas who go to market on a daily basis, come back home, keep this money in their houses. How are they going to do under this new regime?
Yes, you are asking that question on behalf of the masses. But still, I asked you, how much do those people have at home? 2,000? 10,000? When the time for, now they've started weekend banking. How do we exchange this money? Okay, this so village, this mosque, we're going to give imam. I beg, take it to so this church, so we're going to give it to pastor. Look, church leader, take it to, I mean, you gather your money, write your names. This one gave 10,000, this one 5,000, this one 2,000. My mother, you go and give her 1,000, she'll tie it and keep. She's not spending. You go again, give her 3,000, she's tie and keep it. She say, I'm told that they are changing money. It's for you again to do the needful for mama, so that she's not left out.
Okay, so the editorial, briefly before we go, the editorial of the Daily Trust today talks about positioning Africa's youth for the future. How positioned are the youth in Africa right now? And where should we be looking in terms of making sure that the youth on the continent are positioned?
Honestly, in Nigeria, when you look at the education policy, 6-3-3-4 system, first 6, primary school, second 3, they're supposed to teach you some tiling, carpentry, wiring, painting and all that, so that if you don't even go to secondary school, you started surviving. You go to the next level, if you dropped out of school, you have a means of livelihood. And government in Africa, I mean, does it not say too much about you? That year in, year out, I was watching on BBC World, where a ship just bathed in Italy. They said, we are not ready to receive you. And the guys, they are saying, these blacks are human beings, like you. You in Europe, underdeveloped Africa, now they are here to share. You are saying, no, The ship is going to remain here. Does it not say a word or two to African leaders? When we recruit these youths to do mayhem in society, to go attack political opponents, what are we doing to the youth? We need to have deliberate policies for the youth. We need schools, we need to change the entire curriculum to ensure that the youths are never left behind. Because when you look at the population, the size of youth, they constitute the majority. So what do you do with them in the next 20 years? Very, very critical. And when we talk about out-of-school syndrome, in Nigeria, the population is swallowing that of Benin, Togo, and maybe Niger. You put together. So how do we handle that? That's just Nigeria alone. And there is always this saying, if Nigeria gets it right, Africa gets it right. So we expect sporting events, engage these youths. Let there be holy, nice competitions instead of fighting in the streets. Sponsor them with arms, give them hard drugs to take, change their orientation, and they become agents of destruction. It shouldn't just be. So good editorial, we expect that government, when they read some of these things, even in federal cabinet, did you see the editorial of so concerning the youth? Minister of Youth, what is it that we have to do here concerning this youth? We take it seriously. And sorry, finally, NYSC, when we saw, they said they've mobilized so.
But in a situation where you find that you look at the same,
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that